Welcome to Conversations with Cubit. Thank you for joining me tonight, and thanks for supporting these weekly conversations. I got to tell you, Happy New Year. This is our first show of 2023, and I could not be any more excited about this show. Maybe, just maybe, it's your first time joining the conversation. Well, welcome to the family. Yes, I consider you family. My team and I are excited that you found your way here. And by the way, we love getting all of those words of encouragement in my inbox, so keep those coming. They mean a lot to me, my team, and even the guests that join us week after week. Now, be sure to check out some of our past conversations by heading over to my YouTube channel. Just look up Conversations with Cubit, and once you get there, please subscribe and hit the like button. Please hit the like button. Now, after you browse all of those past conversations, you will not be disappointed, I promise. But right now, I need you to do me a favor. Would you please share tonight's conversation? Would you just simply hit the share button? If you've ever needed some motivation to keep you on track to reach your goals, tonight is made especially for you. So please keep this conversation going. Share it with your community. So hit the button, the share button right now. I'm waiting. I'm looking, I'm watching. All right, I gotta give a special shout out to my friends Richard and Amy James for giving these weekly conversations a home out here at Green Pasture Studios. It's in far northeast Oklahoma City near Spencer, Oklahoma. Green Pasture Studios are in the movie making business. I mean, they make full-fledged movies, full-fledged movie productions, commercials, and they even have a training academy. They actually teach people of all ages how to work in this movie industry. It's really cool stuff going on out here, so please look them up online and get involved however you can. Okay, let me share with you my very simple goals for these weekly conversations. There's only three. One, I want to add value to people in my community. Two, I want to inspire you to believe in what people and communities can become when we're willing to work together. And three, love people, period. All this means is I want you to be inspired. I want you to get useful information and resources, and I want to celebrate individuals, groups, and organizations who are making a positive impact on our community. Every conversation right here will be about information, inspiration, and hope. That's it. Joining me tonight is a new friend of mine, but a longtime friend of a member of our production crew, Barry Yarborough. So a friend of my friend is a friend of mine. KP Westmorland joins me tonight, and KP is a former mayor of Bethany, Oklahoma. He's a motivational speaker and a faith leader. He has a very specific message he shares all over the world in a very unique way of sharing it. So tonight, I want to tap into that. I want to tap into his background, and I want to tap into his motivational energy. He has written books, started businesses, and much more. So instead of reading off his bio in the typical fashion, I'm going to do things a little bit different. I'm going to give KP some few bullet points from his background because I've been doing a little creeping, and I'm going to allow him to share whatever comes to his mind from his past personal and professional experiences that has contributed to him being the leader he is today. Folks, help me welcome Mr. KP Westmorland to Conversations with Cubit.
Nice to meet you, sir.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Thanks.
I've heard a little bit about you, and I've done some Googling and some creeping around. It's not hard to find something about former mayors.
Oh, yeah.
I want you to know.
It's not all
the good and the bad,
Yeah.
the good and the bad. But because I've been in that little political game for a little bit,
Yeah.
I ignore most of the bad.
Yeah.
Not all of it.
It's all entertainment, though.
It's all entertainment,
Yeah,
and you can't take it too serious, all kind of stuff. But
Right.
it's a battle scars.
Yeah.
Battle scars. That's what they are.
That's right.
You ready for this? I got a few bullet points.
Absolutely. Hit me.
And I'm gonna let you just fire off whatever comes. This is your bio. It's your story.
Okay.
This is your life, KP.
You're gonna bring some more friends out. So.
Right. All right. I'm just gonna say the word. High school.
Bethany High School.
Bethany High School.
Bethany Bronchos.
No, Broncos.
Well, we spell it Bronchos, though. We always got made fun of because of that, too.
Yeah.
We're the Bethany Broncos.
Yeah, that's where you went to high school.
Graduated in 86.
86. That was almost you. If you'd have been the best year ever, I graduated in '87.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you did,
we'd have taken over the world.
okay. Well, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Parents. Tell me about your parents.
My dad, John Westmorland, and my mom, Gilbretta Westmorland. My parents divorced when I was in about fifth grade, I think. Great people. My mom passed away 18 years ago, and my dad is still living. And he worked for a State Farm agency in Bethany that my granddad had started.
Wow.
And then he moved up the corporate ladder and moved off to many other places like California and Illinois. And now he's back here, so we get to see him. And
that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. How old is he?
87.
87, and still, oh wow, that's good. My dad's 84.
Okay.
84, that's good. I cannot wait to hear about this. Comedy basketball show.
Well, after high school, my thing in high school was basketball.
Basketball.
I tried football. I quit in 8th grade was my last year because they made me the quarterback, and I don't think the offensive line was any bigger than I was, and so I got beat up a lot. So basketball was my thing. And I grew up, Bethany High School being right across the street from then Bethany Nazarene College, now Southern Nazarene University, and so I wanted to play college basketball, and so I went over and played college basketball, and then after that I started.
You played at Southern Nazarene?
Yes, sir. Uh-huh. Yes, sir. And then after that, I got an opportunity to run basketball camps for a guy named Joe Ward that had played at Georgia and then played for. Was drafted by the Phoenix Suns, but spent most of the time overseas and in the CBA back then. And he, saw what I could do with a basketball and contacted a guy that used to play for the Harlem Globetrotters that started his own team by the name of Meadowlark Lemon.
Meadowlark Lemon. I was going to say Curly, one of the other.
So I traveled with him for a while. I was on the opposition team, though.
The one that got beat every week.
I didn't know that I was going to be on that team until the first game. And then over time, after a couple years of just traveling, doing that, some other Globetrotters started a team, and they asked me to come over and be essentially the Curly Neal. So I got to dribble around and do all that. So it was fun. It was fun.
That's good. How long did you do that?
Probably 2-3 years.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I could talk forever about that.
We didn't make a bunch of money. I know it wasn't a money making.
You just went around the world and just that's right. I get that. I saw this little thing you made a reference to, home, Waffle House and Walmart. Waffle House and Walmart. What's your thing with this?
Well, I used to spend a lot of time traveling and speaking and spend a lot of time away from home. And so I found two places that once you go inside of there, either one of those two places, you might as well be at home because they're exactly the same. And so you could get homesick, you could be off, 1,000 miles away. If you see a Waffle House or a Walmart and you want to, not feel homesick, just go inside there and walk around or order something to eat because, it's just like home.
I didn't realize every Waffle House in the country is set up the same.
Every one of them that I've ever been in.
And they always have that one person that you can tell that uniform was wore last shift because it's got stuff all over it. That apron, it's got the stuff.
Exactly.
Not my Waffle House. Not my Waffle House, but there's some nasty folks in Waffle House sometimes.
Yeah, man, but they got some good waffles.
Yeah, that's good. All right. Okay. What childhood memory that has kept you grounded?
Oh, man. Childhood memory that has kept me grounded. I think I'm a Bethany kid, and so it's a small town, and I'm a small guy, and so I don't know as far as one particular memory, but I've got a ton of memories that have grounded me. I've been humbled a lot throughout life, and so that'll keep you grounded.
Right.
If you don't have an experience humbling times or situations, then you're probably a little too lofty. You need to be brought down to the
We'll probably talk a little bit.
And as a very small guy wanting to be a basketball player, I was humbled a lot.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about humbling or experiences that. Okay. Talk about your wife and your family, your kids.
My wife is the most beautiful woman on planet Earth. Her name is Susan. She's my best friend, and man, it's life. Life is beautiful when she's around, and I get to be around her. I'm married far above my head.
Y'all punted your coverage, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
That's good.
We have 5 children, amazing children. We're a blended family. And so we got 3 boys and 2 girls, ranging from 18 to 25.
Okay. Well, you're almost 18. Mm-hmm. That's
We have a daughter that's a freshman at the University of Tennessee.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's good. And then the last bullet I have here is the recovering hypocrite. What's that about?
Well, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah. I think I actually wrote a book called Recovering Hypocrite, but it all kind of came from, we all have hypocritical things about us. I think the key is, are we in recovery? You know, they say the first step to recovery is admitting that you have a problem. You know, whatever the deal is, drug, alcohol, whatever. And so, you know, we all just have things where I think we say one thing and do another, and we can be hypocritical. And so
or hold people to a standard you yourself won't upkeep.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness.
Exactly. And that, man, I struggle with it, and so I'm just acknowledging.
And you wrote a whole book about it.
Yes.
Oh,
because I had a lot to get off my chest. So.
So you were journaling, and it turned out to be a book.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I get it. All right. So thank you for playing my little silly game.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that. I'm sure I didn't get all of your background or stuff, but I think we have a good idea.
Hey, man, it's a start.
It's a start.
Yeah.
It's a start. So around here locally, people will probably know you most from your basketball in Bethany.
Old timers, maybe.
Old timers, basketball, because they never die. You know, athletes never die in a hit. It's like, you remember that time I hit that shot, right?
That's right. That's right.
But
we're way better than we actually were
in
here. Yeah.
But they probably know you more about being mayor of a small town in Bethany.
Most recently,
I'm curious of lessons learned in that little political area there, and then small town politics, I think, might be a little different than the politics that we see always on the news and all that kind of stuff. So what lessons did you learn from that?
Oh man, I learned a lot of lessons.
Okay.
Some of your lessons are the hardest ones learned, you know, so, you know, the experiences that keep you humbled, and quite honestly. But, you know, I learned that you're going to have to stand up for what you believe in. You're going to have to make a decision. And as far as my concern is, be a yes or no, make a decision. And not everybody's going to like you. You're gonna hopefully do what you think is right, and you're like a referee at a basketball game. You blow the whistle to make a call, you make a decision, and half the crowd thinks you're a genius, and half the crowd thinks you're an idiot. And you're just gonna have to get used to it, because you're not gonna please everybody. Do what the conviction you have in your heart, because you're gonna have to live with yourself, and be ready for people to say all kinds of stuff about you. That's some true and some not true, and you know, you just have to live with that.
Was that the biggest challenge about being mayor? Is reading stuff about yourself that wasn't true, and having to explain that to your wife, or
and I didn't have to explain anything to my wife, because she
knows.
She knows me, and so I probably the thick skin thing. You have to grow into that, because I never liked people saying something false about me. If I totally blow it and you say something true about me, I can take that. Yeah, you know,
it's embarrassing.
Yeah,
maybe.
It's embarrassing, but whatever. But when it's just false, that's hard to stomach. But you have to get to the point where you can just go like, I can't control that. So you just got to keep moving on and being yourself. And that's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, small town, I've heard, that's the only political career I had. I didn't want to have a political career. I was asked to run for mayor. And so 3 years of it was fantastic, and one was not so fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm glad I did it, because I learned a lot about myself. You know, the Bible says God won't allow any more upon you than you're able to handle. And I would be honest with you, prior to the stuff that I went through, if you'd have said, could you handle this? I'd have said, no way. But I handled it. And so obviously God thought more. I think God thinks more about us than we think of ourselves.
For sure.
And so he would, you know, he kind of used that experience to say, you know what, you can take some stuff. And so don't be afraid to stand up for what you believe in, and stand up for what's right. And my thing is, I don't like turning a blind eye to injustice. And so I don't care what color you are, what your religion is, what you know, what your gender is. It just can't be unjust. We have to do the right thing. To know the good you ought to do. This is the verse that ran through my head every day that I was a mayor. To know the good you ought to do and not do it is sin. And so to turn your head from injustice and ignore it, that's unacceptable to me.
Right.
But in political world, you're probably not going to last that long. You know, what I mean, it's just a rough world.
I remember you remind me of a lesson. My dad taught me. I would walk past him. He'd be watching TV in his chair, and I'd walk from my room past the TV, past him, into the kitchen, get whatever I'm doing. And in this particular time, I must have stepped over something that wasn't supposed to be there. I stepped over it, went on about my way, and I came back, got whatever it was I wanted, walked back, and I stepped over this piece of paper or trash or whatever it was, and headed back. And he says, hey, where are you going? Yeah, so I'm going back to my room. Why did you step over that? It's like, oh, well, I don't know. I didn't put it there. And he says, I know you didn't put it there, but you know it shouldn't be there, right? Yeah, no, I know it shouldn't be there, but I think my sister must have left it there. And he says, don't you ever walk across a mess that you know shouldn't be there when you have the ability to clean it up.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Don't turn your back on it.
Right.
It's a problem, and you have the ability to fix it.
That's right.
Right. And that's kind of what you're
Exactly.
what you're talking about. But everybody doesn't want. Some people want the mess there.
Yes. Some people thrive on a mess. Like some people thrive on drama, and they all say they don't like drama. I don't like drama, but then they just start.
Everybody that says that likes drama.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Other people that don't like drama just don't do drama.
Yeah.
Right.
But all of us watch the train wreck when it's happening. It's hard to not turn your head and look at it.
But when you've seen enough train wrecks,
yes,
you look for a way. This traffic is backing up for some reason. I don't want to. I don't want to take a different path. Right. When you've seen enough train wrecks. So when I was in politics, the short time I was in politics, it has really spiked my interest in all politics, and just kind of, and I have an opinion about the way politicians move and shake, especially here in Oklahoma, and how they run their campaigns and how they go about their business and who they bring in their circle. And I just I'm a little bit more sensitive to what's happening politically now, and I'm sure that's the same with you. Where do you see us in Oklahoma in politics? What's your take on it?
Oh man. Everybody has an opinion, like I said earlier, and you're not going to be able to please everybody. And, there's people that believe in this candidate and people that believe in that candidate. My thing is, are you going to be able to live with yourself? Because, I don't like seeing campaigns where they're slinging mud and all this dirty, ugly stuff. It's like, well, what are you going to do? What are you bringing to the table? Because I'm trying to decide, am I going to vote for you or not? So I don't want to waste your time hearing you bash somebody else. Tell me what you're going to do to improve this thing. And I think whether that's going to improve the state or the country or the world, or people are going to take that advice and do it, I don't know, and I wouldn't put any.
We're doing that a lot, though. Yeah. We did that a lot. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
But you have to live with yourself. And so at the end of the campaign, win or lose, regardless if you ever run again or you go off and do something else, are you going to be happy with yourself about that decision? Because I believe the kingdom of heaven is inside of you. And if I'm bashing you, then who am I bashing really? Am I dogging out God? Am I dogging out God? And that's easier said than done, because believe me, I've had conversations where I'm like, somebody does you wrong, but God always comes around and says, hey,
a little correction.
Yeah. So I think the world's a much better place when we're letting love win. And until we do that, it's you get on your knees and continue to pray.
Yeah, y'all tweet that. Let love win. Somebody tweet that. Right. All right. So I didn't want to talk about politics. That's not why you're here. You had a life as a motivational speaker, and if you're ever been a motivational speaker, you're always a motivational speaker. If you're always a source of motivation to people, you can't just walk away from it. I believe. And so I was just recently asked to speak to a group of leaders, and they wanted me to speak on motivation. And so I was trying to figure out, the whole time I was putting this presentation together, is two parts to motivation. Is being self-motivated and staying self-motivated, and then how to motivate other leaders to inspire them to motivate others. Give us some advice on staying self-motivated, one, and two, how do you motivate others?
I think as far as being self-motivated, that's a challenge for everybody, and maybe even more so for the motivational speaker, because every time you're speaking, as far as me concerned, if I'm speaking to a group, I'm really speaking to myself. You just happen to be sitting there listening to my private conversation, myself. And so, but you have to have a why. Why are you doing what you're doing? What's your goal? What's the end result you're wanting to have? And it's easy. I've lost it at times. I've lost my why. I've lost my focus of why am I doing what I'm doing? And you have to come back to that. And I'm reminded about the story about Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson that I've heard so many times, where he wasn't even supposed to be fighting him. He definitely wasn't going to win, but his mom was bragging to the ladies at the hairdresser shop, my son's going to knock out Mike Tyson. They're just laughing at her and stuff.
Right.
And then 2 weeks before, or a few days before the fight that was to happen, his mom passes away from cancer, I think. And then the day before, he ends up with like the flu or something. So he's got everything against him, and he's fighting the toughest guy on planet Earth. And he gets knocked down, like in round 1 or 2. But then he gets back up, and he ends up going like 9 or 10 rounds, and he knocks Mike Tyson out.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's because he knew his why. He promised his mom he was going to beat Mike Tyson. And so he could not do it. And so we all have to have our why. What promise did you make to yourself? What promise, is that's not strong enough, then what promise did you make to your wife or to your husband or to your children or grandchildren or your community? And that's going to be the thing, I think, that gets you out of bed in the morning and keeps you going. Is it's not just about you, but what is it that I'm trying to accomplish, and who have I made this promise to?
Right.
And so that's what I try to do. And I'll tell you, after my mayorship, I backed up and sat down and kind of shaking my head, like, what just happened, and why am I doing what I'm doing, and what am I supposed to do now? And I didn't want to go out and motivate anybody else, because I wasn't motivated. I was beat up.
Right.
But at some point in time, you have to just get up and go, you know what? Forget this.
Yeah.
I got life to live. I got a fight to win, and I got people counting on me. And so it's time. It's go time.
Yeah. Zig Ziglar says it something like this. He says, people will say motivation don't last, but either does bathing. That's why we recommend it every day, right? You got, and sometimes you got to load up on your whys, right? There's and you just did that. You're like, I got a wife, I got a family, I got a kid. Well, sometimes the family may not be the thing that's motivated, because family feels so good and everything's rocking and rolling, but you got to get fired up. So you got to load up the whys,
right?
Because process is getting ready to attack that, right? The work has to be done in that thing. So what you said in the Mike Tyson, in the Buster Douglas, was he that has a why to live can bear almost any how. Right?
That's right.
Right? Mike Tyson is a tough challenge.
Right.
Getting in the flu, coming over the flu is a tough challenge. The grief of getting over my mother's passing, that's all, how am I going to win now?
Right.
But if you have a why,
exactly,
it defeats the how.
And quite honestly, desperation is a very strong motivator. You know what I'm saying? Anything in life. If you're facing bankruptcy, man, that's a strong motivator to be like, man, I've got to fix this. If you get a message from the doctor saying, well, here's where you stand health-wise, well, that desperation can be a strong motivator to get in shape and start eating right and doing the right thing. So, find out, if you can't find your why that's going to keep you going, you might end up with a desperate move that's going to make you motivated.
Right. Sometimes the why is given to you, right?
Exactly.
Like the doctor said, if you don't start eating right, you're going to die.
Exactly.
Right? So you gave me a why.
Yeah.
That's good. Hey, so I can already tell in this conversation that you seem very eager to share your faith with people. Very eager to do that. Where did this love for sharing your faith come from?
My mom wasn't she wasn't a preacher and anything like that. She worked in a church as a secretary, and she prayed for me every day. And I was a wild child, and so I made a lot of bad decisions and choices. I didn't think I was going to live to see 25. I didn't care. I wanted to play basketball for the Philadelphia 76ers one day. Never happened, but that was it, And so I found myself addicted to drugs, addicted to cocaine specifically. And I know I was addicted, but you hide everything you can. And then I flunked out of college. I moved in with my mom. She had moved to Fort Worth, Texas, and so I moved in with her. And for a semester, I just sat there wondering, what now? And I never doubted God. I just didn't want him to get in the way of what I wanted to do with my life. And so I remember, wasn't feeling well health-wise. I don't know, never went to the doctor. I don't know if there was something wrong with me or not. But I remember praying 2 days before Thanksgiving in 1988 and gave my life to Jesus Christ in my bedroom at my mom's house in Fort Worth. And it was real. And it doesn't mean I've done everything perfect since then, but it was real. And I just remember thinking, I can't keep this to myself. And so I'm not one to cram a Bible down somebody's throat or hit them over the head with it or stand on a street corner screaming or anything like that. But if I have the opportunity to share with you and you ask me what I believe, Jesus, I'm a Christ follower. and I'm not churchy about it. I'm not religious about it. It's ugly sometimes. I was always told God knows your thoughts. He knows your motives and all that kind of stuff. So if I can't hide anything from God, then why am I going to act like everything's peachy keen when it's not? Sometimes me and God, He still loves me as a child, but I'm throwing a temper tantrum, and sometimes it's not easy. Like I said, my wife's the most beautiful woman on planet Earth, and I'm madly in love with her and love her, but yet we don't always see eye to eye, and sometimes we have arguments, but we're still married, we still come back together, and we still love each other. And so if the Bible's true and it says how much more does our Heavenly Father love us than earthly fathers love their own children, then how is God ever going to abandon me or kick me out of the house because I said something wrong or I threw a temper tantrum? Because I'm never going to do that to my kids.
Right, yeah, yeah.
But it's just a real faith journey, and not everybody has to be where you are in their faith journey, but I want to motivate them to don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to admit that you doubt, Even Jesus met the dad that, said all things are possible if you believe. And the dad said, because he wanted him to heal his son, and he said, I do believe, but help me with my unbelief. He admitted he had unbelief. Well, we're all like that. We believe so strongly, but at the same time, we're like, oh, today I had a sales meeting with what I'm doing now. And it's a big deal. And it was like, man, we're praying that this is gonna happen. And all of a sudden it's like, well, it's postponed. Well, we're not too sure. Well, we'll put something together and we'll meet again in a few weeks. And you're like, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's not always on your timing and all that, but I'm just trying to keep my faith real.
So listen, man, speaking of that, so when you talk about the addiction and then accepting Jesus as your Lord and Savior that night, that moment, I don't know this. I'm just gonna ask. But usually he sends somebody, he sends a person to help guide you away from the things that are hurting you, right? And then you met, who is that person that you met, and where did they take you, and how did you get healed?
Well, quite honestly, and I know this isn't the case for everybody,
right,
but when I prayed that night, God delivered me from that addiction.
Yeah.
So I can't claim to have successfully made it through some big program or anything like that. That maybe he just knew he ain't strong enough to do it, so I'm just going to do it for him. Right. But then I went back to college the next semester and had teammates that loved the Lord, that just kind of put their arm around me. And Dr. Kyle Rickner, he's a doctor now. He was one of them. Jeff Johnston was one of them. Yep. I got several of them. Alan Pepper. I got a bunch of
I
guys.
knew there would be names to this story. I knew it. Yeah.
And Alan Pepper ended up being one of my board members of my ministry. When I started ministry and started traveling and speaking, and so they came alongside of me and just they didn't judge me or preach at me. They were just big brothers there for me. Joe Ward is one of them that I ran the basketball camps and introduced me to Meadowlark Lemon. So,
yeah. Talk to me a little bit about the ministry and some of the highlights of that, going on the road and motivating people.
Oh man, there were so many highlights. It's such a unique experience and life journey. Looking back, thinking everything, man, I was involved in that. What was that? But as a basketball player, and then I started taking teams into prisons and playing against inmate teams and just witnessing to them and giving them Bibles and just being there having a conversation, and had fun doing that. And then I got asked to go speak at a youth group, and then another youth group, and it just started. The snowball started rolling, and God was opening up doors. I was asked to host a radio program called For Real at what was then 91 FM in Oklahoma City. And so hosted that, and one day I was sitting there. I don't sing. I do sing, but my wife says it's really not that good. And I don't know how to play an instrument. But I was sitting in the studio, and all these autographed pictures from all these Christian artists like DC Talk and Audio Adrenaline and Michael Lewis Smith, all these people were on the walls, right? And I remember sitting there after the show, and I just felt like God said to me, not audibly, but just something in my gut, just said, I'm going to use you to minister to these people. And I thought, well, don't they have pastors? I mean, they're Christian singers. Like, do they need somebody to minister to them?
Right.
And I don't know any of them, and I'm not in the music industry. How that's going to happen?
Yeah.
And it probably was a year or two later because I was starting to bring in bands, and they would do a concert, and I would speak. churches around and different things as outreach things. And all of a sudden I had a manager call me and say, hey, we want you to be the road pastor and speaker on this tour. And so I found myself, for 7 or 8 weeks, it was Wednesday through Sunday, and then I would fly home, and Monday, Tuesday I would be at home, and then I'd fly out again Wednesday, and so it's like that for 7 or 8 weeks. And I'd fly to Nashville, they'd pick me up, I go, they'd roll up, put me in a Prevost bus, and I'm sitting there with Michael Tate from DC Talk and all these different bands, and doing devotionals with them in the back of a bus and introducing them on stage, and I realized, God, you're doing exactly what you said you were going to do. And so I got to do that. I got invited to go to China to do some things and run some basketball camps. And so I heard it was illegal in China, and I used to be a guy that, illegal was what I was doing. And so I cracked open my Bible when I was on the Great Wall of China and read the Bible, just standing there having my own devotion on the Great Wall of China. And so been to the Philippines, took a basketball team to the Philippines, played 21 games in 16 days doing ministry stuff. We produced a TV pilot, and I know nothing about running cameras or anything like that. It was just an idea. And so there's just been a lot of highs. Spoke at music festivals. Probably the largest crowd I've spoken in front of was 70,000 in Sioux Falls, South Dakota at a music festival. Yeah. And it's just, you start thinking, this isn't because of me. Right. I'm just a boy from Bethany, Oklahoma that bounced a basketball. And then years later, you're just trying to obey what God's putting in your spirit to do, that you think he's leading you to do. And you wake up one day and you start looking around and you think, look at everything that I've been involved in. And really that's it. It ain't you doing it. I mean, you're doing the obedient part, but God's just letting us be involved in what he's doing. Yeah. And that's the coolest spot to be in.
And that's where we say, won't he do it? Won't he do it? Yeah, it's just fantastic. Yes. Yeah. So now catch us up. What's happening right now? You were telling me you're doing some phenomenal things in the tech world.
Yeah, but not because I'm techie or I'm smart enough to know how that stuff works.
Yeah, but won't he do it?
I know it works.
Yeah,
right?
okay. Right.
So after being the mayor, I was asked by a company called BFAC.com to go work with them. And so they're probably the top app development company in definitely North America, if not the world. The company's produced over 10,000 mobile apps for organizations, at schools in the Big A, Big 12, SEC, PAC, all of these sports things, for political figures, for Salvation Armies. Probably the biggest clients are National Guard and Air National Guard. The CEO sits on the national board of the Salvation Army with Laura Bush and Jerry Jones, and the only reason why he says this, his name's Brad McMullen, says the only reason why he's there is because the technology works. And so, we're just trying to get people the opportunity to have their own mobile app for their business organization or campaign or whatever they're doing, because that's where the people are. It's the first screen that we look at in the morning, the last screen we look at night is our cell phone. Right. And that's where the audience is, so people need to be there. But yet, sometimes you're trying to talk to old school thinkers, but if they start realizing, well, do you have a website? Well, yeah, I got a website. You have to have a website. Well, yeah, but to get somebody to visit your website twice is like the percentage is so low, it's ridiculous. And there was a day that you didn't even know why you needed a website. Yeah. And prior to that, you didn't know why you needed a fax phone or fax number, to run your business. Well, now we're to the point where you're going to have an app, and it's just a matter of when. And I just try to encourage people and motivate them to have an app. I think your show right here needs an app, quite honestly. So
I don't know.
Yeah, we do custom apps, and we have apps that. And
it's called BF.
AC.
AC, what does that stand for?
Buy from a Christian.
Buy from a Christian.
Yep, Christian company. We did Coach Stoops' app, so he has an app. So there, it's exciting times, but I couldn't tell you how the developers put it together. I'm just talking to you going, hey, you need to really think about this because this could take you to the next level. And so that's all I'm doing. So I'm excited about it because it's about helping people. I want to see people improve, like the motivational speaking, like traveling, like, all I wanted to do as the mayor is motivate citizens. That was it. And so we would do videos and try to motivate citizens and encourage them. And so what I'm doing now is no different. I'm just trying to say, hey, look at what you're doing. It's successful, but let's take it to the next level. And so I love doing it because when they pull the trigger and they figure it out and we can walk them through that and get it up, and it's not hard to do, man. It's nice watching them receive the blessing from that.
Yeah, I want to give you an opportunity to talk about your books, because you put, when you I think you wrote 2 that I know about.
Oh, I've only written 2.
Yeah. that I know about. Talk about your books. Who needs them, and if possible, how do they find them?
If possible, you might be able to find it on Amazon, because I'm not sure the publishing companies still exist. And so my first book I was asked to write, and it's called The Quest. And I wrote it years ago, and it was more of a youth-oriented book, and it's about letting God write your story, essentially, and just listening to the Holy Spirit and do what He tells you to do. And there were stories along the way, very short stories of things that I knew God told me to do, that, and here's the end result kind of thing. And so just trying to motivate people, encourage them to do that in your life. Let God take the pen and the typewriter and start writing your story. He's the one with the plan, and it's going to be much better than if you're trying to write it. So just get involved with what He's doing. The other one was years later, after I'd gone through, a lot of ministry stuff, ups and downs, had gone through a divorce, had met my wife now, Susan, and remarried and blended our family. And I, quite honestly, I had a lot of stuff still stirring around in me, issues within me and things, and that's why it's called Recovering Hypocrite. And it's another short book, and you may be able to find it on Amazon, I'm not sure, but they weren't New York Times bestsellers by any means. It was probably more written for me to get something off, and I've enjoyed listening to other people that got them somehow and read them and said, hey, this really meant a lot to me. So
yeah. Before we go, it would be just crazy for me to have a person with your experience. January, when everybody's got all of these new goals set for themselves, some that they made for themselves and some that God has planted inside of them,
right.
And they're fired up, but we're only in week 2. We're in week 2, and I already know what week 3 and week 4
right.
and next month is going to look like for them, because I have been on that journey of setting them and breaking them. People need a big dose. This is about the time of the week where they need a big dose of motivation. So if you'll just look in that camera right there and just give them a big old dose of hope and encouragement.
First of all, the thoughts that you've had that led you to want to reach the goal that you set for yourself, or make your resolution or your goals or whatever they are, I believe those are obtainable. And maybe that was done out of desperation, like we talked about earlier, or maybe it's just something that you want to accomplish, and I believe it's something that God probably placed inside your heart and your mind. And the last thing you need to do is, when you stumble, trip, fall, fail, is to beat yourself up about it. You don't need that. What you need is to just continuing to think about your why. Why did you want to accomplish this to begin with? And if you didn't do so well today, tomorrow morning's a brand new day, and it's a brand new opportunity for you to pick yourself up and get going. I'm reminded of Walter Payton, and I don't remember how many yards he rushed in his career, but it was like miles, right? But then when you look at the average yard per carry that he had, it was only like 3 or 4 yards per carry. And so what that meant was, even though he may have rushed the football for 10 miles in his NFL career, some big ugly guy hit him as hard as he could and knocked him to the ground every 3 or 4 yards. He had to keep getting up, getting back on the line, taking the ball, and continuing to run. Sometimes that was a 99-yard run touchdown. Sometimes it was maybe a loss. Sometimes it was just a 2 or 3 yard gain. And that's the way life is for us. Today might not have been that great a day for you in getting closer to your goal. But tomorrow's a brand new day. So get up, get ready to get the ball, and you're going to run again. And you're going to do that every single day. And remember your why. The why for Walter Payton was try to get to the end zone. Well, there is going to be an end zone for every single one of us one day. And so I want to see you accomplish your dreams and your goals. So get up and get moving, and stop beating yourself up, thinking about all the thoughts of what you did wrong, because I don't believe that's going to help you succeed. Think about the things that you've done well. Think about the things you did right. At the end of the day, don't just dwell on the negative stuff. Think about the things you did right, and then think about how great it's going to be tomorrow. When you wake up in the morning, make the proclamation. God has created a great day for you, and now you just get to go experience it and make the most of it. Love you, believe in you, keep reaching for your goal. You can do it. God bless you.
Man, I love it. I love it. Listen, this is get it. If he wakes me up, that means he ain't done with me.
Exactly.
He ain't done with me.
Exactly.
You know, I heard this the other day, and it's all true. I can ask you right now to go and find out exactly how much money you got. You can, and within an hour, you could get the truck and the boots, the 401k. You can call the bank. You can figure out exactly how much money you got, give or take $1 or $2.
Right.
Right. You could tell me how much money you got. But if I asked you to tell me how much time you got, you couldn't tell me. There ain't nothing you can do to tell me how much time you got. Right? So why waste any of it?
Exactly.
Go get it. Go get it.
I added up one day how many times on average my heart had beat in my lifetime. Because you can figure out like your average heartbeat. And I just started doing the math. And I got there, I was like, man, that's a big old number. But not one of those beats did I cause to happen. God made that beat every single time. And if he's gonna allow to give me one more heartbeat, there's a reason for that beat. And you better be taking advantage of it.
Boy, that's it. How do we connect with you? How if somebody wants to get involved with you, the app, your motivation?
I'm not on Facebook. Right? I'm not on Facebook anymore. But I'm on Instagram. I've got a Twitter account that I rarely get on.
I found it. I found it. Yeah, I found it.
You can. I think the last thing I posted was. Did I post this? My wife called in and got on the Paul Feinbaum show.
That was it.
Dude,
that was the last one.
That was one of her bucket lists. That was so funny. That's just enjoying the moments in life.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. Be in the moment. Just enjoy the moments of every life. Yeah, but you can email me at kpwestmoreland@me.com.
That's it. That's it. I appreciate you taking the spur of the moment and coming hanging out with a new friend.
Thanks for having me, man. Thanks, I love
good.
it. I love it.
Good.
So, man, you got a plan.
Well, I'm working on something, but right now, I just want you to know that you're a year older than me, which means I probably have a little bit more flexibility on my layup.
I guarantee it. I guarantee it.
No, but I can't dribble anything. That's it for Conversations with Cupid. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next week. And Happy New Year. Enjoy it. Go get it.
What would happen if one person said yes? If one person said, I will go and tell people of a hope that has changed my life, where would that road take such a person? I'm KP Westmorland, and no matter what the cost, I'm gonna go. Ride with me. Jesus said, go into all the world. And going ain't easy. So keep going. There's a lot of people that are lost and hurting and scared and without hope, frustrated, angry, mad, full of hate, full of rage, whatever. And they're out there in the world, and as long as God continues to give me breath and give me a word to speak and a place to go, I'm gonna go.